Let's continue with our discussion. Then we are here. And these are the four hierarchies of preferential free trade agreements. And I will talk each one of them, okay? So as I've said, when you go from here to up the hierarchy, then there are so many benefits to international trade. So the lower one is just the free trade agreement. And in free trade agreement, it is just to avoid tariff barriers. Okay, so in free trade agreement, what we expect is just tariff barriers are solved. Okay, so there is no tax or there is no quota. That's it. But when you go up, for example, when a trade agreement is improved to be a customs union, then it's not only tariffs, but also some common external tariffs will be abolished. Okay, so we have two advantages in trade. Okay, so and when you go up, there is common market. Okay, so most of the countries who are in custom union are also referred to us in common markets because there is a big potential to be in common markets. Okay, but most of them are in a custom union. Okay. Sorry for that. I think a student cannot join. Okay. I think we're clear, right? So, then there is a common market. After common market, there is economic union. Okay, so in common market, there are no tariffs, there are no common external tariffs. Okay, these two are abolished. Then the third advantage is there are factor improvements. Okay, then after common markets, we have economic union. So in economic union, tariffs are abolished, common external tariffs are abolished, factor movements are there, plus economic and political harmonization is there. As I've said, when this trade agreements reach economic union, then sometimes they might also have a single government. Okay, so there are so many free trade agreements that are categorized in different hierarchies. So for EU could be categorized under this. Okay, it doesn't fully satisfy all the requirements of an economic union, but one of the best examples for economic union we have is the European Union. Okay. Okay, let's proceed. Let's talk about the free trade agreement. So two or more countries agree to abolish tariffs and other barriers to trade among themselves, and that is called a free trade agreement. Okay, and countries continue independent trade policies with countries outside the agreement. So as we have said, for example, if the US, Canada, and Mexico have a free trade agreement, other countries, the relationship between the US and other countries will be independent, okay? So the trade agreement discriminates those which are not members of the free trade agreement, okay? And there is what we call the rules of origin, okay? I want you to clearly understand what the rules of origin means, okay? This is the US, this is Canada, and this is Mexico. Okay, so when these three countries sign a free trade agreement, as I've said, the tariff between these three countries is abolished. Okay, there is no tariff barrier. Okay, but the thing is, what if, let's say, there is Korea here? So what if an investor in Mexico imported or sent some products to Mexico and exported these products from Mexico to the US? Okay. So now, are these products exported from Mexico to the US expected to pay taxes or not? That is the point. Okay. So when countries sign a free trade agreement, that means that they have signed free trade agreements for products that are produced within these countries. Okay? So an investor or someone in Mexico who imported products from Korea cannot sell these products to the US tariff free. Okay? Because there is what we call a rule of origin certificate. Okay? Or this is called the certificate of originality. Okay? So these are requirements that restrict transshipment of goods from the country with the lowest tariffs to another. Okay? So when products from the US are sent to Canada, these products will be checked for originality. Okay? This means the Canada Customs Authority will check whether these products are produced within the US. Okay? So there is a certificate called Certificate of Originality. Okay? So certificate of originality will be checked. And if this product is not produced in the US, then Canada will impose tariffs on these products. Okay? The reason is, as I've said, if these countries are trading tariff-free, then some investor in Mexico can import products from Korea and sell these products to the US tariff-free. Okay? And if you import your product as tariff-free, then you can make a lot of profit, right? And that will create a problem to the trade. So this is not possible. Okay. So there is a rule that strictly forbids countries from importing products from other countries and selling it to the country with which they have this free trade agreement. Okay. So this is called the rules of origin. So every product should have the certificate of originality. Okay. And the other is the custom. Okay. This is the first from the hierarchy, like the free trade agreement. So in free trade agreement, we abolished only tariffs, right? And the second one is a customs union. So customs union is evolution of free trade. So in addition to the internal barriers to trade, elimination of avoiding of this internal barriers to trade, in customs union, they establish a common external tariffs, okay, or barriers to trade. So this common external barrier or common external tariffs are avoided in customs union. Okay, so that is more that allows more trade to be undertaken between these countries in free trade agreement. Okay, so for example, the EU and Turkey has signed this customs union, the Andean community. So we will talk about each one of this, the Andean community, the Mercosur, and we have the CARICOM, we have the Central American Integration, CETA. So there are so many others. So this all agreement is signed could be categorized as customs unions, because it's not only tariffs, but they have also avoided this common external barriers to trade. Okay. So the free trades do not have common external barriers or common external tariffs. Okay. So if there is common external tariff or barrier removed, then it is a customs union. And the third one is a common market. So as we have said, in addition to the internal barriers to trade and common external barriers to trade, and it allows for a free movement of factors of production. Okay, so you know, Europe has implemented partly this common market. Okay, but implementing common market is a little bit difficult. Okay, because in common market, for example, if France and Germany, let's say, have signed a common market, it means that people in Germany or people who live in Germany or people who have Germany citizen can go and work in France, and French people can come to Germany and work. Okay? So not only people, but other factors of production. As you know, we have labor, we have capital, we have land, okay? We have information or entrepreneurship. These are called factors of production, okay? And when factors of production can easily transferred from one country to the other, then we say there is a common market, okay? The reason why it is, I say it is difficult is because you have to follow the same ethical practice, okay? So if France and Germany has to be involved in a common market, so it means that France and Germany should have common ethical practices. For example, for doctors and lawyers, okay? So the ethical practices in Germany should be the same with ethical practices in France, so that the lawyers or French lawyers can go to Germany and work, or Germany lawyers can go to French and work, okay? So this free movement of factors of production shows this free trade agreement has grown into a common market, okay? And the last in the hierarchy is an economic union, okay? So this includes elimination of internal barriers to trade and common external barriers to trade. Third one is free movement. So all this are in common market, custom union, and free trade agreement. But in addition to this, it coordinates and harmonizes economic and social policy within the union. Okay, so in addition to all the other factors, an economic union is where you have a harmonized economic and social policy. Okay, as I've said, it goes to the extent that this agreement is under an economic union will be under a single government. Okay, that is a little bit complicated. Okay, so as I've said, the best example for economic union is European Union, because they have done everything. You can work in other countries. You don't need visa to move from one European Union country to the other, and there are no barriers. Okay, products are the same. If you go to France or Germany, you can buy the same product, the same quality with the same price, and they are using the same currency. Okay, so the only thing left is to have like the common or similar government structure. Okay, so the full evolution of economic union will consist the following. Okay, so when we say economic union is fully fledged, it means that the creation of unified central bank. So when the countries who have signed this agreement have a central bank, one central bank, okay, use a single currency, common policies on issues like agriculture, social policy, transport, competition, mergers, and taxation, okay, requires extensive political unity, would lead to a central government in the future. Okay, so those of you who are familiar with European Union, there are countries in Europe, right? And among these countries in Europe, there are European Union. Not all countries in Europe are members of the European Union, right? There are some countries in Europe that are not member of the European Union. But the European Union uses those who use the same currency, okay? So within European Union, we have called the Eurozone, which use Euro as their own currency, okay? Because there are countries within the European Union, but still do not use Euro as their currency, okay? So when you say European Union, there is Europe, okay? There are countries within European Union, because there are countries which are in Europe, but not members of the European Union. And again, this among countries within European Union, the Eurozone are few, okay? Eurozone means countries that use Euro as their currency, okay? So there are EU members that still do not use Euro as their own currency. So I want you to identify Europe, European Union, and Eurozone, okay? So, so European Union in general is a very good example, as I've said, for economic union, but it's not a fully fledged economic union, because in economic union, for example, they will have common policies on issues such as agriculture, social policy, transport, competition, mergers, and taxation, okay? If you take European Union, the members of the European Union, they use the same monetary policy, okay? Monetary policy is the same, but they use different fiscal policies. So the fiscal policy is up to the country to decide, but the monetary policy is decided by the Union, okay? So which means all the countries within the European Union will implement the monetary policy which is, or the monetary policy which is set forward by the European Union, okay? So that's it. So this is the last stage, and which if the free trade agreement contains all this, then we can say this is an economic union, okay? Then let's talk about US goods exporters and imports, okay? Oh, okay, so this is to say imports, okay? So I'm not sure whether we talked about this last week, but maybe for those of you who are in my class in international trade, we talked about this. So these are the major exporters to the US, okay? And these are major importers, okay? So major exporters from the US, major importers from the US. But this is the data from 2014. Okay, this is from 2016. So good. So China is the #1 importer of goods of the US. Okay, so these are like the top 10 countries or trading partners of the US. And most of the US export goes to Canada, then Mexico, then China. Okay, and the imports are to China. I mean, the exports from China to, I mean, US to China, Mexico, and Canada. Okay, this figures show the data from 2016, but now it's 2020. China has a lead, I guess, in both import and export from the US. Okay, so let's talk about one of these agreements called the Latin America. Okay, so which consists of SICA, Andean Community, okay, Marcos, and the other one is CARICOM. So this includes the Caribbean, the Central, and the South America. So the history of this country is where they are identified, or they are known by the fact that there is no growth, inflation was very high, most of these countries are in debt, and the protectionism has given way to free markets, open economies, and deregulations. Okay, some concern for further growth with the rise of the left-leaning politicians. So this initiative, or this concern for growth, came from left-leaning politicians, you know, both left wing and right wing. So anyways, then for example, let's talk about North America. So in North America, we have Mexico, Canada, and the US, right? So these three countries, they have signed a free trade agreement. And as you know, after this free trade agreement is signed between this, among these three countries, the growth of the countries has improved, okay? Because most of the export from the US goes to Mexico and Canada, as we have seen from export of the US. And these countries, Canada and Mexico, also export a large volume of their goods to the US, okay? So this economic integration among these three countries has improved their economies, okay? And Central America integration. So this is not an acronym for this one. This is because this name is in Latin, okay? So this is a Latin acronym for Central American Integration System. So in this Central American Integration System, we have El Salvador, we have Honduras, we have Guatemala, we have Nicaragua, we have Costa Rica, and Panama. So these countries are moving toward this common market, and you know where is common market, right? So common market hierarchy is this one. So the third one, right? We have custom union, then we have common market, the second one, or from bottom is the third one. So these three countries are going for a common market, okay? And the common external tariff of 0 to 50%. So external tariff has increased. So actually, this common external tariff is not avoided, but it improves in common markets. Okay, so you might have to we might have to consider this. Okay, retain tariffs on goods also producing in importing countries. And Central American Integration System, this the SICA, which is Latin acronym. This is the population and the GDP of the countries on the picture. Okay, so the size of the population in millions plus the GDP is displayed on the figure. Okay. Then DR-CAFTA, this is when the US has joined this CICA members. Okay, so the CICA members used to be El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and this. Then Dominican Republic and the United States have joined this free trade agreement, and the name has changed to DR-CAFTA. Okay, so 80% of US goods and 50% of agricultural US products go duty-free into these countries, okay, these Latin American countries. So paperwork is reduced, there is a reduced risk. I mean, when risk is reduced, that means there will be more foreign direct investment, okay? And the other is the Andean community. In Andean community, we have these 4 countries involved. We have Bolivia, Cambodia, Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru. So actually, in this, Chile and Venezuela also used to be members of this free trade agreement, but they left. Chile left first, then Venezuela followed, I guess. So there used to be 6 countries under this free trade agreement, but now there are 4 countries involved. And this kind of free trade agreement, is considered as a customs union, okay? Because they have established their common external tariffs, okay? So they abolished foreign exchange, financial and fiscal initiatives, export subsidies, and lower tariffs. And they have also established these common external tariffs, so they are identified as a customs union, okay? And there is common markets of the South, then Mercosur, then this is also again a name given, Latin name given as an acronym, I guess. So in this, we have Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay, and Venezuela are members of this free trade agreement. It was established in 1995. Okay, so again, this is also a customs union which seeks to become a common market in the future. So because the internal barriers are eliminated, they have established external tariffs to 20%, and factors of production, sometimes you can freely exchange labor in these countries, and EU is the #1 trading partner for these countries. Okay, so finally, this Bolivia, Chile, Ecuador, and Peru, they have joined, so they have participated in free trade area, but not in customs union. Okay, so trade agreement between this and Bolivia, Chile, and Ecuador, and Peru is only on tariffs. So there is no common external tariffs established, okay? Because they are not members of the customs union, okay? So these are these countries in the South, okay? So this figure shows the GDP and population size in thousands, okay? Sorry, in thousands in each of these countries, okay? And the other is CARICOM, and this is founded in 1973, and it has 15 members. There are so many countries. Some of them I have never heard of, but commonly, you know, Bahamas, the Haiti, the Dominican, Barbados, Jamaica. This all, there are so 15 countries are members of this, and they are total of 17 million population. And the economy of these countries were stagnant for 20 years. But after the after this customs union, then their economy has improved. So the customs union in 1991 was established using some external tariffs, okay? They have rejected the idea of economic union, because this is the last in the hierarchy, yes? So they were asked to to form an economic union. So actually about I think two or three members of this have rejected the idea of creating an economic union as having a single currency, which they thought would not be beneficial. Okay, so the Caribbean Basin Trade Partnership Act exempts textile and apparel exporters to the US markets from duties and tariffs. So the Caribbean Basin initiatives of 20 nations includes the CARICOM, okay? And this one, the Asia Pacific, as I have said before, this free trade agreement is termed as the best in terms of the rules, okay? The trade rules. So as I've said, there is WTO, but there are more than 300 preferential trade agreements signed among countries, okay? And we have said that many of these are not even recognized by WTO, right? But they are not disallowed by WTO, they still exist. And the problem is, if a country is a member of WTO, then it's a must that they have to abide by the rules of WTO. But if a country is not a member of WTO, then you are not obliged to obey to any WTO rules, okay? And the problem comes when one country is member of WTO and the other country is not member of WTO, but these countries have signed a free trade agreement. And when there is a trade dispute between these two countries, then is it going to be settled by the regional trade agreement or by the free trade agreement or by the WTO? So now there is a conflict of interest between WTO and this free trade agreement, okay? But they say that the Asia Pacific free trade agreement is the best and it is an exemplary for other free trade agreements in terms of the rules in this Asia Pacific free trade agreement are in line with the WTO rules, okay? So in this Asia Pacific Association of South Asian Nations free trade agreement, there are Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, the Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. So from this, Thailand has recently joined. Then Vietnam is the only communist country in the Asia Pacific Trade Agreement. So they used to be called this ASEAN Plus 6, okay? Then finally, Japan, China, Korea, Australia, New Zealand, and India have joined. So when Japan, Korea, and China joined this, they used to be also called the ASEAN Plus 3. They used to be called ASEAN Plus 3. But finally, this again additional 3 countries, Australia, New Zealand, and India have joined. Then again, they're again called ASEAN Plus 6. Okay. So, anyways, this Japan, China, Korea, Australia, New Zealand, and India are working toward this economic community with the Asia Pacific. Okay, and this China-ASEAN Free Trade Agreement was established in 2010, and it has removed 90% of the tariffs on trade goods between ASEAN Free Trade Agreement and China. Okay, that is big tariff removal. So these are the countries in ASEAN, their income and their population. And the other potential who can join this in this ASEAN is the Singapore, which is the world's second largest container airport, container port. So the second largest port is located in Singapore. It is the second highest standard of living, okay, next to Japan. Then 5.4 million people are there, then 90, not 5.5, 5.4, maybe more. I'm not sure about this, but 95% of them are literates. So the literacy rate is high, and there are over 3,000 companies, and crime is nearly non-existent in Singapore. So Singapore is the next powerhouse that is expected to join the ASEAN group. Okay. So let's take again maybe 10 minutes of break, and we'll be back. Okay. So after 10 minutes, I'll see you.